All right, November 6th, driving with Jacob Furcheck, Furcheck Farms YouTube channel. We got a range day. We're setting up targets. He's got his, it was too wet to do a plow day, right, Jacob?
Yes, it was.
So
imagine that.
So how'd you decide to do a range day?
Oh, me and a couple buddies have always talked about it for a couple of years at least, but we just never done it. It's like, yeah, hell, it's wet. Let's do it.
So what do we got? How'd you, what distances are we gonna attempt to shoot at?
100, 200, 300, 400, 5 and 6.
All right, we'll see if anybody can shoot at 5 or 6. So we're out in this hayfield. We'll go over these old hunting guides that he has. Michigan 1980-81 hunting guide. That is when I was in high school. This is how thin it was. Now it's like an encyclopedia with other attachments. This is an old hunter's choice. That's what they called the doe permits. So you had a choice, and back then, I remember one of my buddies, I was in high school, he got a doe tag. It was a lottery. That was the coolest thing if you could get a doe tag. And back then, when I was in high school, boy, you had to hunt to see a deer.
You couldn't hunt out of trees then, right?
No, I think they made it, well, you couldn't hunt, you couldn't firearm hunt out of trees. You could archery hunt out of trees back then. And it wasn't too many years before that for archery, you had to wear hunter's orange. You couldn't even wear camo. But yeah, we'll go over this. This is, yeah. There were so few deer around. It was tough hunting deer, but now they can't shoot enough of them. We don't have enough hunters now in Michigan, and that's been a real problem. So they kind of liberalized the seasons now. Now you can hunt with a crossbow anytime. Any age group can hunt with a crossbow. You can hunt at any age, right? A firearm deer hunt?
As
long as you got an adult or something, you can be 10 or 12 or 8 years old. You know, they want to get hunters in the field. We don't got enough kids doing outdoor sports, outdoor activities. 1980. This is the whole hunting guide, people. That's before bureaucracy got more involved than it ever is. It does fold out one more time. So this is interesting. Bear. Now you have to do a lottery to get a bear tag in Michigan. Back then, they were just over the counter. And I see down here, bear license. They had changed it just before this. If you had a firearm deer license, you were allowed to shoot a bear, I remember, during deer season. I think if you had a firearm and a bow license. But here it says, may not hunt bear under either a firearm or bow and arrow deer license. So what happened is a lot more people started hunting bears. What happened? So they had to start metering the permits. A lot of people never used to hunt bear. Basically, I think the houndsmen, these guys doing guided hunts, they ended up having pretty good success and take people out on guided hunts. So they disproportionately started harvesting more bear. But yeah, it was a pretty simple time back then. State deer opener was, you know, traditionally always November 15th to 30th, which it is now. But they still have a lot of special licenses. Mink, raccoon, woodchuck, crow, fox. Timber wolves were almost non-existent in Michigan back in 1980. So I don't think I see any reference to wolves in here. Yeah, no info on wolves. About that time in the early 80s, wolves started coming in more from Canada and Wisconsin, Minnesota. But there's not a mention of them here. And there's no mention of moose. This is about the time they started the moose lift in Michigan, where Michigan, I think, traded wild turkeys to Ontario and did a trade where they brought in moose from the Canada and dispersed them through the mainland. And there's a bunch of hunters that raised money. MUCC did. Sharp-tailed grouse is in here. I don't think there's sharp-tailed grouse hunting in Michigan anymore at all. once the forest, you know, the economy went bad in the late 70s and 80s, logging kind of closed down, and some of the open areas in the western UP where they had sharp-tailed grouse, they kind of disappeared. And they're kind of like a prairie chicken, they are. But I talked to old timers, still know one guy in his 80s, he remembers seeing prairie chickens in southern Michigan. And one other guy I leased ground from, he's dead now, he remembers hunting prairie chickens as a kid up in the Thumb. But no more. So, very interesting. Things were simple back then. Well, haven't shot this in a while, so I really didn't want to spend money on ammo. You know, that's the big deal. This is my Bushmaster. I bought this back in the, I don't know, mid-90s, late 90s. Nice little carbine. I think it's an XMR 15 carbine model. Air rifle, it's not, yeah. Now, if you shoot my coffee cup, I'm going to be upset. I almost, just to save money, brought that old Westernfield Octagon 22 long rifle that Bob Smith, who used to live down the road here, used for coon hunting back in the 60s and 70s.